for the obvious fact that Jesus did not fulfill many of the most prominent prophecies. Those predictions which he failed to complete during his stay on earth will, they allege, be fulfilled when he returns a second time. In other words, what he didn't complete during his first appearance will be accomplished the second time around. For utter deception, this ploy has no equal. Using that trick, anybody could claim to be the Messiah. All they need do is allege that whatever they did not accomplish while on earth this time would be carried out when they return at some indefinite time in the future. Several major problems plague this concept. First, anyone who reads the Bible with any degree of objectivity knows that there's only one Messiah, and that's all, and he's coming once, and that's it. The second coming has no biblical support. On page 55 in his book, Rabbi Kaplan summarized the entire issue very well when he said, quote, "Nowhere does the Jewish Bible say that the Messiah would come once, be killed, and return a second time in a second coming. The idea of a second coming is a pure rationalization of Jesus' failure to function in any way as a Messiah or to fulfill any of the prophecies of the Torah or the prophets. The idea is a Christian invention, a fiction, with no foundation in the Bible." Unquote. How true. On page 71 in the same book, he correctly states, quote, "All the prophecies that Jesus did not fulfill the first time are supposed to be taken care of the second time around. However, the Jewish Bible," again he's talking about the Old Testament, "offers absolutely no evidence to support the Christian doctrine of a second coming. All the embarrassing prophecies that he did not fulfill are swept under the rug of a second coming." Unquote. Again, how very true. The second coming concept is nothing more than an apologetic deception created to conceal some blatant miscalculations on the part of Jesus and his followers. A second problem with it. According to the Old Testament prophecies, the Messiah's arrival would bring in all the following: the end of sin, the end of suffering, peace and tranquility, one creed and one religion, one kingdom and one king, the resurrection of the dead, the abolishment of idolatrous images and false prophets, the gathering of the 10 tribes under a Davidic king, the battle between Gog and Magog, the splitting of the Mount of Olives, the building of the future temple, the going up of the remnant of nations to Jerusalem to worship, Jerusalem being safely inhabited, the Messiah being desired by all nations, the wicked being slain, and a messianic kingdom stretching from sea to sea. But beyond doubt, these prophecies have never materialized. On page 7 in the book entitled The Real Messiah, Rabbi Kaplan correctly stated, quote, "Jesus could not have been the Messiah. The prophets predicted a world of peace and love after the Messiah's coming. And this certainly does not exist today." Later on page 36 in the same book, Kaplan states, quote, "First of all, the Jews had a tradition well supported in the teachings of the prophets that the Messiah would bring about major changes in the world. The spiritual kingdom," he's talking about the kingdom of Jesus, "did not in any way fulfill these prophecies. The Jews were also unconvinced by the answer of the second coming, since it's not even hinted at in biblical literature." Unquote. On page 58 in his work entitled The Jew and the Christian Missionary, the Jewish educator Gerald Siegel states, quote, "Having fulfilled the law and the prophets, What is the need for a second coming? If Jesus had truly brought about all that was promised concerning the peaceful society Messiah will bring, as stated in the law and the prophets, and here he's referring to Isaiah 2, 1-4, Jeremiah 23, 5-6, Ezekiel 34, 23-31, and Amos 9, 13-15, if he had fulfilled these, there would have been no reason for a second advent. Unquote. Briefly stated, the second coming has no biblical support, and many scholars have noted as much. The concept is plagued by a third major problem as well. The New Testament lists many events that are to precede the arrival of the Messiah. On page 336 in the book entitled The Bible Has the Answer, apologists Morris and Clark are asked the question, what are the signs that the return of Christ may be soon? Their response is, quote, it is not possible to predict the exact time of the second coming of Christ, according to Mark 13:32. On the other hand, Christ actually commanded us in Matthew 24:33 to recognize that his coming was near by saying, quote, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. A few of these things are, now he's talking about the things that are to happen before Christ returns, and which many biblicists claim are happening now and proving his return is imminent. Things such as